invoke Steve Winwood. That has been a long time for me.
Roll with it. I invoked Low Spark of High Heeled Boys the other day. The Traffic song. Traffic starring Steve Winwood.
Woo!
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah, buddy.
Bring me a higher love, right?
Yeah. Fetch me
Valerie.
A higher love.
Yeah, Valerie. Yeah.
Call on me.
All right.
Roger has control.
I have control.
He has
I'm
control.
hiding as well.
Got to have control. That's can't think of her name.
Tina.
All you nasty boys.
Janet Jackson.
Yes. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
From the album Control.
Yeah. Oops. Like I should have known that.
Do you have any Alpha Geek Radio problems this morning?
Yeah, I couldn't get the mirroring thing to work, and I put in a question to Todd, and I'd never heard back.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on.
I have not heard back from him in a while. I asked him a couple of questions.
Me either. I mostly see him in Warcraft, which may explain it, but he has not been around kind of out in the open.
Only playing Warcraft.
I need to talk about Nerdtacular. I think he's going. He always says he is, but now I don't know, and I don't know how I'm streaming this if he isn't, so all that.
All right, here we go. Boom. Chaka laka.
When the walls fell. Oh.
Shaka. When the walls fell. What is it? Somebody, his arms open, but I can't. Temba?
Timba with a Timba? Simba? No, not Simba.
Simba, when the mountain lions came.
Mountain lions.
No, I'm not making any sense. Okay, dokay. You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's roll with it.
Let's do it.
Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. You want to know what this is? This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Scott Johnson with me today. How in the heck can you possibly want to miss this show? You thought I was going to ask how you were doing, huh, Scott?
Well, in the aftermath of American Gods premiere, you can just call me Wednesday.
Mr. Wednesday.
Oh, Mr. Wednesday to you, yeah.
To those who don't know.
Wednesday, it's fine.
Yeah, man. We're going to talk about watching TV today. Hulu Live launched here in the United States. So we now have DirecTV Now, Sling TV, PlayStation View, Hulu, and YouTube TV, although YouTube's in limited markets right now. So 4 of those are nationwide and 5 in some parts of the country to choose from, independent of your cable television company. And so we've got a lot of thoughts on that. You can't watch American Gods on there, though. That's the one thing you can't do on any of this.
That's true. You can't watch that any place unless you're a Stars dude. But
gotta be a Star subscriber.
It's funny in a way, and we'll talk about this. But in a way, we finally have all the choice we've been begging for as unpluggers for years, and in some ways, we don't have any choice. So we'll talk about that.
Whoa! You almost blew my mind. Let's start with a few tech things you should know about. Hey, don't want to spend too much time on this, but in case you didn't know, most of you have probably heard about this, all right. There was this clever new phishing scam working its way around on Wednesday using Google's system to appear as if it is a legitimate request for access to your email and address book by Google Docs. Here's how it worked. You'd get an email from someone in your contacts, and it's one of those typical spam things where once it infects someone, it uses their contacts to email everyone they know so that it's like, oh, it's from Scott. Well, he must be sending me a Google Doc. So it says it's a Google Doc. When you click to open the Google Doc, it says Google Docs with the Google Doc logo would like to manage your Gmail and contacts. Well, that should be your first tip-off that something's not right, because Google Docs doesn't need to ask for your access if you already have Google Docs, especially. Google Docs doesn't work like that. This is a third-party app, situation that you might have run into before, where it's like, hey, this app would like to have access to your Google account. Well, a lot of people may have fell for that. So if you fell for it, you can revoke access by going to the connected apps section at myaccount.google.com/security, looking for an app named Google Docs, which shouldn't be in there, and then revoking access for that app.
So there's a way to fix it. It's funny, though. It had some weird side effects. Like I wasn't the only one that had this, apparently, although for a while I thought it was just my ISP, but a smattering of people got back to me and said they saw the same thing. They couldn't get into Docs for a while. The theory being that maybe Google was hard at work trying to curtail this or slow it down, or to
seem to be regional, so it could be unrelated.
It totally could be. Yeah, there's no confirmation from Google, by the way, on the outage. So that's the one part we don't have. But kind of a weird coincidence if it wasn't. But regardless, it's funny because not long ago, something similar like this happened. Someone tried to share a PDF document with my wife. This is months ago. When she said yes, it asked her for her login information. Yeah. This is even more sneaky than that.
This is sneakier than that because you're like, oh, okay, Google Docs wants access. Well, shouldn't it already have access? Yes, it should. So don't say yes, but yeah, it's pretty.
Plus,
clever.
it plays on this trust we have with Google. Like we trust Google for the most part. The bigger companies kind of have our trust. Facebook has a similar thing with their.
No, absolutely. This is using Google's system. So if you look at your URL, which is one of your best practices, right? Wait, is this really from Google? It'll say, oh yeah, it's coming. It was using Google's system. Little blame on Google for not checking to make sure that nobody was using something that is their name. They shouldn't have been able to call this thing Google Docs and have it use that system.
Yeah, it's a little janky, but at the end of it all, I mean, this isn't obviously Google doing this, but pretty clever, sneaky move there, hacker man, whoever came up with this.
Yep. Here's some more top stories. Following up on the Apple earnings, we talked about the actual earnings yesterday, but on the earnings call, which happened after our show, Tim Cook claimed that Apple Watch sales nearly doubled year over year. Did not provide a number, so could have gone from 1 to 2. Pretty sure it was more than that, though. Cook claimed its wearables revenue, which that would include not only the Apple Watch, but the Beats headphones and the AirPods. Wearables revenue was the size of a Fortune 500 company. So Business Insider, The Verge, everybody went and immediately looked, what is the revenue of the 500th company in the Fortune 500? That would be $5.1 billion. So Tim Cook claiming that revenues from wearables is about $5.1 billion. Just come out and give us a number. Stop making us do these puzzles, Tim Cook. Come on. Cook also said the number of Apple Pay transactions in the latest quarter rose 450% year over year. The big headline, and we mentioned this yesterday, was the falling iPhone sales. Not crazy that iPhone sales would fall in Q1 after the holiday quarter, but Apple sales in China fell 12%. And a lot of people are pointing to that to say, that's why the Apple iPhone sales fell more than people expected. Ben Thompson over at Stratechery, who's an incredibly smart guy, argues the ubiquity of WeChat in China might be the cause of the problem, because while iOS users in other parts of the world will not often switch out of iOS because they feel like they would lose too much by leaving the Apple ecosystem, Chinese users tend to see WeChat as the ecosystem. And WeChat works pretty much the same on Android as it does on iOS. So to them, it's, well, that new iPhone looks just like the old iPhone. Why would I switch? And so that he's kind of saying the iPhone looks like an older phone, so they're going for newer, flashier phones that look cool.
Sure. And WeChat, I mean, there's no doubt that thing, it's interesting to refer to it as its own ecosystem, though. I hadn't really thought of it that way. But if mostly what you use your mobile devices for are being covered by the functionality of WeChat, then what else do you need? There's no reason to go premium or to get into another ecosystem that's maybe it's an app-rich ecosystem like iOS.
Just pick whatever phone if you're just going to use WeChat. I don't. Maybe some people don't realize WeChat is for payments, it's for calls, it's for communication, it's for games, it's for shopping. Like if you're thinking it's like your SMS app, it does way more than that. It's what Facebook Messenger would like to be so that it can compete with WeChat, even though it doesn't operate in the Chinese market.
Well, and it's also something iMessage could be if Apple wanted it to be or was willing to see if they could.
Well, no, that's the good point, right? iMessage would have to work outside of iOS to compete. Yeah.
That's the only way it would do it. Anyway, it's super interesting. That's how I talk to Terpster now. Our good friend Mark Turpin and I only talk via WeChat. And I kind of have gotten so used to it that I sort of wish that's how I talk to everybody.
Not WhatsApp, WeChat.
Yeah, WeChat.
Huh.
So, there you go. Mark Zuckerberg said Wednesday that Facebook will add 3,000 people over the next year to monitor reports of inappropriate material and remove videos of the likes, things like murders and suicides. They have been highly criticized and scrutinized lately because of recent events. The 3,000 is in addition to the 4,500 people who already review the posts right now. Facebook has come under some criticism recently for taking as much as a day to remove a disturbing post like the ones we just described. Somebody said to me earlier, and I do not remember who it was, someone over Twitter mentioned there are dystopian novel writers just throwing in the towel because this sounds like a storyline from a book they maybe were going to write. It's a strange time we're in, but people are using these ubiquitous live streaming apps, not just Facebook. They just have the numbers to create a kind of a percentage problem where they're going to be, it's going to happen there more than anywhere else. And it's brave new territory in a lot of ways. Yeah. I don't think it means that any more people out there are wanting to do a dastardly deed like perform a murder on screen or take their own life on screen. It's just that now anyone who was already sort of in that vein is going to have this as an option and take it to the next level. And it's a little scary, a little bit weird.
And that's not that, even that is not new. What is new is the ubiquity of the platform.
Right.
More people are on Facebook than have been on any particular app or system in forever. So I mean, you could post things like this in the early 2000s, even in the late 90s, but people would have to know where to go to find it, right? It was something that might be hidden, and it probably wasn't live. Now it's not only easily accessible, right? Because everybody's on Facebook. You know, a big chunk of the world's population is on Facebook, and it's easy to find stuff. Once it's there, it gets shared around and everybody can see it. So this is an admission that our machine learning isn't there yet. Algorithms can't identify this stuff. You still need human reviewers. Even 4,500 of them are not enough to handle the number of requests. Because again, remember, somebody sees something that they think is wrong and report it. It's not the only thing that got reported. Like, people have to be able to understand and see that a request and a complaint is in fact real. And that kind of judgment requires humans. Yeah. Plain and simple. So this is, in the face of worries about automation, I guess this could be some sort of comfort, right? That, hey, you just created 3,000 jobs. All of that money that Facebook can save on automation, the things that machine learning can do, can be spent on this. Sure.
And I take heart in that. I think it's something they have to do. I think it's good. But when you think about the fact that Facebook has 1 billion plus users now and a growth streak, meaning they're on the upswing, or they have, they're always sort of going like this. They haven't flattened out. 7,500 people is not a lot of people. Like, that's nothing compared to the volume of content. So that number is probably going to grow.
So you're still needing some algorithmic or crowdsourced winnowing down.
Yeah.
Right. But what this implies is that that's working well enough to get the things in front of people, but we didn't have enough people to work through the backlog fast enough.
Right. That is I just want to make this one point. That is a larger worldwide workforce than Blizzard Entertainment employs currently.
Wow.
They do about 6,000 people worldwide. And
wow.
That seemed like a lot of people when I thought about it before, but 7,500 people whose jobs entirely focused on making sure videos and content on Facebook are not crossing lines. It's crazy.
Now, if you want some entertainment, and you're into legal drama, check out the Waymo Uber lawsuit that is in court Wednesday, debating accusations that current Uber employee Anthony Lewandowski took trade secrets from what was then Google's self-driving car project. It is now called Waymo. He is accused of taking 14,000 files, particularly related to how LiDAR works, with him to found Otto, O-T-T-O, which was acquired by Uber. In the hearing today, they're talking about a preliminary injunction. Google would like a preliminary injunction to stop Uber from developing its LiDAR tech. Waymo accused Uber of a cover-up scheme, portrayed Lewandowski-founded Otto as a front for Uber. Waymo lawyers claim that Uber gave Lewandowski $250 million in stock the day after he quit Google, before he founded Otto. The stock was actually granted as part of Otto's merger with Uber. And the judge, Judge Alsup, pointed out that it's quite possible the vesting date of January 28th could easily have been backdated. Waymo's lawyer admitted he did not have context for the doc. It would make sense that in August, when Uber bought Otto, and they said, oh, we're going to grant you this stock, and we're going to backdate the vesting date to January 28th, the day after you left Google. It would be a conflict to put it when you were at Google, but we'll backdate it for you, right? That's quite possible. And Uber says that's what happened. Waymo is seeking an injunction against Uber's autonomous car development. Judge Alsup also said, it is true that you have very solid proof that he, referring to Lewandowski, did all that downloading under suspicious circumstances. But you didn't sue him. You sued Uber. So what if it turns out Uber is totally innocent? What if the worst thing they did was pay a lot of money to hire away a brilliant guy from a competitor, and he downloaded all this information and didn't consult them? So Judge Alsup's warning Waymo's lawyer, look, if you can't prove that Uber knew that he had these documents and that in any way those documents were used by Uber, you're suing the wrong people.
Yeah, this is a fascinating case, man. I mean, I've been involved in a couple of lawsuits, sort of parallel connections, nothing that was directed at me, but working for companies or with companies that were under an investigation. I had to do under oath testimony. Certainly in the gathering phase, a couple of them didn't go to court. One of them did. Those were all really fascinating experiences in what always came down to it for me. And it feels like this too. Is it actually, it makes me ask this question. Is it actually possible for $250 million to pass hands without somebody doing something legal about it?
Well, again, it's August, right? It's August when it passes hands. The money doesn't pass hands January 28th.
Right. So, but I guess my point is like that much money. There's always going to be scrutiny, whether you find something or not, whether it goes to court or not.
Yeah,
whether
there's going to be so many eyes on it. You're right.
Yeah, it's just too big. So in some ways, I'm like, oh man, how cool would that be? Get pulled away from your old company for $250 million. That's a pretty sweet deal. And then part of me says, no, I don't want anything to do with this. This sounds crazy, and it doesn't matter where it came from or where you're going or what you're doing. Everybody's looking, and somebody will find some way to do something. Now, does this mean? Do you think this means that they could turn around and say, all right, well, fine, we dropped the suit against Uber. Now we're suing per Judge
Lewandowski
ideas. We're
himself.
suing this dude.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know that they are precluded from doing that. It certainly wouldn't help them in this trial, and it would cause a lot of expense that they wouldn't necessarily have undergone at that point. The other thing that Waymo has is some emails from an Uber employee to Lewandowski while Lewandowski was a Google employee. And the emails talk about a startup and some deliverables, and it's pretty vague. It could mean anything because Uber and Google were in talks in general about things back then.
Gosh, it's not like Uber hasn't had any controversy lately, so I'm sure this is no problem for them.
Well, that in the court of public opinion, everyone's like, sure, Uber, sure you didn't steal things. But so far in the actual court of law, things have been leaning Uber's way. We'll see if that continues. Again, this is just for the preliminary injunction. Google might not get, or Waymo might not get the preliminary injunction, but they'll still go to trial over the theft of trade secrets and the patent resolution as well.
Well, if you've ever been jealous of somebody else's phone, now you can be jelly of their phone. A Kickstarter for a 3.6-inch phone. That's how long it is. Literally, it's like this. You'll see pictures here from Roger on the video. Is $69. It is fully funded, but still taking orders for the $69 phone. And it's only 3.6 inches long. The Jelly is an LTE Android phone with 2.45-inch display, a removable battery, dual SIM slots, micro SD slot, 1 gig of RAM, 16 gigabytes of storage total. Battery's estimated to last 3 full days with an average use of 7 days on standby, which is that's crazy. Jelly is not the first phone from the company called Unihertz is the name of it in Shanghai. The Jelly is expected to retail for $109 when it finally hits. So weird. I knew this was going to happen though, Tom. We spent the last 3 years going, we got to be bigger. These are like phablets now. We all got to have 5.5-inch screens, and the new S8s need to wrap all the way around the Samsung phone, and Apple better have a bezel-less thing next to, we're always talking about bigger, but that means you open up this little hole down there that says, hey, remember when phones were tiny and you just keep them in your pocket and batteries didn't matter? And these guys are jumping on it, and apparently people want one. I kind of want one. They're cool.
Well, Yeah, I mean it's always what's different, right? And we're so used to seeing bigger and bigger phones that somebody coming out with a tiny phone catches our eye because that's different. People aren't doing that anymore. Really, this is a developing market phone. It's inexpensive relatively. It's not super cheap when you think about it, but for our Western eyes, it seems crazy inexpensive. Yeah. And it's got dual SIM and removable battery, and yet is full Android. It's not a limited phone. It's not going to be heavy in its use. It's only got a gig of RAM, for goodness sake. But for this kind of phone, that's not bad at all.
It's about the size of a business card. For those wondering what we're talking about here, it's really, really tiny. And
if you just want a phone to do some basic calls, but can also, it's LTE. It can do some browsing.
Yeah.
It might not be bad.
7 days of standby. That's what kept my eye on this thing for $69, which is what you'll pay now if you do Kickstarter support versus $109 at retail. That seems like a steal just to get a battery to last 7 days.
All those people who are on Tiny House Hunters on FYI Network, totally going to do this. Takes up less space in their tiny homes.
Perfect.
The IBM Watson AI X Prize will see 147 teams from 22 countries compete for $5 million over the next 4 years. For the first time in an X Prize, the goal is open. So the teams can solve any issue they want. They're only limited by what domains. So they want them to solve problems either in health and wellness, civil society, space and exploration, or energy and resources. Teams have until the beginning of September to show evidence that their plans will work, and then a panel of experts will determine which teams will get to move on to the next round, which happens in January. And at the end of all this, in 2020, 3 finalists will present their work at TED, and everyone in the audience and everyone watching online will be able to vote. The eventual winner gets $3 million. Second place gets $1 million. Third place gets $500,000. There are also 10 $500,000 milestone prizes to be awarded throughout the 4 years. So anything you want within the domains, get your AIs going.
Yeah, health and wellness and civil society, I'll bet, get the most attention. I don't know why. Just think that's the practical place to put the rubber to the road, sort of. But I love this stuff. I love DARPA challenges. I love contests where real science happens and real innovation sometimes happens. And 10 years from now, we're using products and devices and technology that came out of one of these, or MIT ran something or whatever. I love that kind of thing. So who knows? It may be 2020 that all our big AI breakthroughs finally happen, and it may be on a TED stage.
All right, a couple of earnings happening right now. Tesla reported a loss of $1.33 per share versus a loss of 81 cents a share that was expected. Revenue of $2.7 billion, beating expectation at $2.62 billion. None of that is surprising. The loss, even though it's bigger, is not surprising. In the letter to shareholders, Tesla said that preparations at its production facilities are on track to support the ramp up of Model 3 production to 5,000 vehicles a week at some point in 2017, 10,000 vehicles a week in 2018. That's what everybody's focused on if you're a Tesla shareholder, is when does that Model 3 production really go, and do they follow up on those deposits and sell a bunch of these? That's when their earnings are really going to start to take off. Facebook also reporting earnings per share of $1.04. Reuters consensus was 87 cents, so they beat earnings per share expectations. $8.03 billion, roundly beating expectations of $7.84 billion. And everybody always wants to see the monthly active users. This is one of the reasons I didn't say Facebook has this much of the population earlier, because guess what? We got new monthly active user count of 1.94 billion. They only expected 1.91 billion. So that's, I don't know, what's the population of Earth right now? Is it 8 or 9 billion? But it's
close to 8, I think. Is it?
Yeah, it's 25% of the world uses Facebook every month.
Nuts. That's insane. I don't know why there's not a video of a murder every day. That's horrible to say, but you know what I mean? Like, there's so much.
Yeah, just on percentage chance, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
daily active users are 1.28 billion. It was 1.26 billion expected. I'm sure there'll be more details coming out of these earnings once they do their earnings call, but looks like a very positive earnings report for Facebook.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, although today was around 7 minutes, but it's usually around 5 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. You can get it on your Amazon Echo, and you can get it on the Anchor app. Go check it out. Like we mentioned, Hulu launched its live TV service Wednesday, offering more than 50 channels for $40 a month. No tiers. That's one of their big advantages. It's fairly simple. You pay us $40, you get the channels. All the channels we got, they're yours. The way they're differentiating pricing, though, is interesting. So remember, Hulu also has an $8 a month tier for Hulu users with commercials and a $12 a month tier without commercials. Well, that is the difference on the live TV. You get live TV for $40 a month, but all the back catalog Hulu stuff that already existed has commercials. You pay $44 a month and you get that commercial-free library. So think of it this way. It's a $32 extra charge over your existing Hulu subscription. They also announced that Scripps Network was adding their channels to the service today. So at the last minute, HGTV, travel, food, those channels arrived. There were also a lot of channels from ABC, Disney, all the ESPNs, ESPN 1, 2, News, all of those. The Ocho was not in there, but all the rest. CBS is on there. Fox, FXX, all of those are on there. NBC with Sci-Fi and Bravo, they're on there. There's also a cloud DVR that can hold up to 50 hours of programming. And here's again where the differential pricing comes in. If you want 200 hours of programming on your cloud DVR, you can pay $15 a month. You get 2 simultaneous streams. If you want more, you want unlimited simultaneous streams. You got a family of 6 and they all want to watch Hulu live at the same time, pay $15 a month and you can get unlimited streams. If you want both the 200 hours of programming and the unlimited stream, it's $20 a month extra. Redesigned app comes along with the new service. That's already there for Xbox One, Apple TV, Android, and Chromecast. If you're an iOS user, you have to go download a new app called Hulu with Live TV. It's unclear why on iOS they had to come with a new app, because it is really nice. Like on the Apple TV, I just launched the normal Hulu app and boom, I've got Hulu Live as soon as I'd subscribed. If you're a Roku user or an Amazon Fire TV user or a Samsung Smart TV user, they say they have apps coming for those. They're not out yet. And no word on web access. I would like to use this in my browser. They didn't say anything about that. The only other thing they did say is that Handmaid's Tale has been renewed for a season 2.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's just now airing. So they're doing that episode by episode, I think, every week. But anyway,
they've released like 2 or 3 at the first week, and then they're rolling them out every week.
It's on my list. I haven't gotten around to it, but this is really interesting, right? Now we have 4 or 5, 5 if you count YouTube's limited access for YouTube TV. But we have these choices now that are pretty feature filled in terms of what's available channel wise. There's some differences, like no AMC on Hulu, but I do have AMC on PlayStation View, and there's other differences. You talked this morning on the TMS segment that we do on there with you every Wednesday about caveats in every choice. Every single one of these options has some kind of thing you're either giving up or benefiting from, and there are times when I look at this new landscape and think, oh, this is amazing. We now have a lot of variety of where I can get this from. One of them from a company, by all intents and purposes, who makes my video game life better with Sony. And I know they do a lot more, but the point is that it feels like, it's a PlayStation View that's literally tied to the PlayStation brand. And and I know you didn't mean this, but a lot of people are going to hear that, oh, I need a PlayStation. That's one of their downfalls is you don't. Right.
You can get this on Apple TV or Roku. You can't get it on the Xbox. That's about that.
And they have done a, I'll say it outright, because as much as I love it, they've done a terrible job communicating that to people. Just don't know. And part of it maybe is you can't if it's called PlayStation View. It just throws you off. It's like saying, here's the iPhone whatever software. Oh, you don't need an iPhone to run it. Well, then don't put iPhone in the name. Like it's weird. But then again, I understand why they're trying to use their brand to blow it up and not have it just be called Sony View. Sony View sounds like a new TV, and I don't really am looking for a new TV. So they've got branding problems, but it's a great service, has been for me. It has most of what I want in there. You noted that pretty much none of these guys have Viacom service except for the deals that they struck with DirecTV, and who's the other one?
I don't think they have a deal with DirecTV.
Oh, I thought they did.
Nope.
Who is it? Who's got the Viacom stuff?
Nobody.
Who?
Nobody.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's even.
There's some back catalog stuff on Hulu, but not live.
I thought somebody had a deal with somebody. I don't know who that is and why I thought that. But anyway, the point is, now we have all these choices, and they are definitely choices that are not the old choices, which was very limited. The old choices were, do you want 20 channels you don't really want, or you want 100 channels you don't really want, or do you want 300 channels you don't really want? And should you add Showtime and HBO to this thing? Now we've got a lot of weird diversity, and some of them let you add on services, and some of them tie in to what their old stuff was, like this Hulu app, except not on the web, weirdly. So there's in some ways I feel like I'm getting a bunch of new choice, but I feel like I'm also losing something, and I don't know how to articulate it. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like something's missing. And maybe it's just that age old, it's never going to happen. Let me use it like a buffet and only get what I want and pay for what I use, because that's never going to get licensed. It's never going to happen that way. And maybe because we're just sort of back to 5 limited cable, internet-based cable solutions, because that's what these are. That's really what they are. It's
you know what? I take it back. Viacom channels are on DirecTV now.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. That's the one I'd heard.
But there's no DVR on DirecTV now. So I guess that's where I was confused.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you were right about that. Glad I checked.
I wasn't going crazy there. But anyway, the point is, like, do you know what I mean, though? Like, we've now got like 4 or 5 choices for what are essentially cable packages. They're a little bit less money. They work over the internet.
So yeah, you've I hate to cut you off, but you've said this before, like something's missing, and I feel bad. You have more choices than you've ever had before for more different services. What is it that you wish you had?
Yeah.
Is it that you wish you could get a la carte? I mean, that seems to be the most obvious thing. Is nobody, I mean, Sling likes to pretend like they're doing a la carte, but even them, it's packages at $5. They give you more control over what channels you get, but it's still not a la carte.
Right.
You can't go to any of these services and say, I want to watch these shows. What do I need to subscribe to? And I just want those channels.
Well, right. And that's going back to a little bit of what I was saying before. That is what I want. I think that's what most of us want. But I think I'm realistic to the point where I don't think it's ever going to happen. It's just too hard. There are too many people involved. NBC owns a bunch of these. NBC Universal owns a bunch of these channels, and Viacom owns
okay.
channels.
I actually think it could happen.
Mm.
Now, because let's think this through. What happened was the network said, well, we're not going to put our stuff online ever, right? We want to get the money out of cable. And then YouTube came along and they said, fine, we'll do Hulu and we'll put old episodes. And they struggled with like, well, it's going to be 28 days old episodes. Well, no, maybe it'll be recent ethepisodes. And eventually they started putting day after. It became standardized, like the day after air, it shows up on Hulu. Then all of a sudden, well, there's a lot of cord cutters, especially in that millennial audience. Maybe we should allow some folks to do an online streaming package. And there was tons of resistance. And then Sling TV broke through and was able to do it. And PlayStation Vue followed along. And at first they weren't able to get all the networks on board. And at first they had way worse restrictions. They still have weird restrictions on when you can fast forward and what shows show up. But that's getting easier and easier as more of these people come into the audience. Right now, we're at the point where the networks are saying, well, but we still want it to be mostly like cable because that's what we're comfortable with. And we want to, people to see the live stream and capture the commercials. But you have Netflix. Netflix started doing original programming because they couldn't get all of the programming they wanted out of the providers that existed. So they started making their own. And you have Twitter, who's now going to start doing live video news. And says, hey, we're going to have news and sports. Don't want to subscribe to a package? We got news and sports. I can see a scenario where all of a sudden these packages start to say, well, maybe we'll let you exclude some people, right? The networks that don't have enough weight behind them, we'll let you pay for a thinner package. Or even more likely, the networks start to offer a standalone version. We've already seen it with the premium networks because they don't have advertisers to worry about. So Starz, HBO, Showtime, they've all gone directly to you. The next step is to see somebody else besides CBS, which has already done this, come straight to you. Eventually, it may be a decision between, do I want to have a package that gives me a pass to a bunch of networks for simplicity's sake, or do I really want to go a la carte and subscribe to each network that I want?
Here's what I would like, because I don't disagree with anything you said, and maybe it does come around to something that's closer to that vision. Right now, it feels almost impossible given licensing and everybody wanting to have their own app and call it whatever the name of the station is, plus the word "go" at the end, and or now or whatever.
But that is a la carte.
That's true, but it is and it isn't. What I'm looking at is like, here, picture, if you will, a physical object, literally, that has 10, let's call it, say 10 round holes in it. And for each one of those round holes, that represents a ability to slot in a channel.
Sure.
not just a show, I mean like a channel. So let's say I want to go Discovery, NBC, CBS, Fox, all the way up to whatever my 10 are. And I want to be able to have that, pay for that, and swap out of that anytime I want whatever it is I want to swap. So if it's like I don't need ESPN right now because I don't really care about off season when we're not in baseball. So pull ESPN out of there.
Yeah, I got you. You want to pick and choose which channels go in the 10 slots.
Yeah, but always have the 10 slots, and maybe they can sell me a 10 or a 20.
You can cancel a slot, swap it out with something else.
Right, but keep me at 10. So even if I'm not using all my 10, I'm still paying for them.
Right.
But so it's on me to use them to their highest degree, but sell a 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever slot for me to put more in if I want more. And let me pay for that, and let me have control over what I can fit in there at any given time, like a hard drive and video games. If I don't want to install everything, I'll keep 10 games installed.
You have that right now. It doesn't have all the channels you want, but it's called Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's true.
Amazon Prime is Amazon and also Stars and Showtime and some other Acorn, things like that that are less well known. But Amazon is trying to do that. They're trying to be that. Hulu also can add Showtime. You could also argue that Apple TV is trying to do that with its TV app, where it says, hey, CBS All Access, Hulu, Netflix, HBO Now, they're all available in the TV app. You decide how you can have as many slots as you want. We're not going to limit you to 10. You decide which ones you want to have subscribed to, and then we will put them up here. You can even have them billed through Apple, and then all the billing happens on one bill.
But you have to, the problem is you have to then come up with a price that isn't a small fortune for that kind of choice.
Well, the price will have to work out, right? Yeah. And so that's why these bundled apps are coming, because they allow they allow some crossover, people who are used to paying that one fee. But if the prices shake out and it's like, yeah, okay, HBO Now, maybe HBO lowers their price, and then CBS is $7 and NBC comes with one that's $5, it could end up being $40 to get the channels you want. And then maybe it's $35, maybe it's less, and then you just buy certain shows that you don't need to see the minute they air.
Do you think it gets let's say we get to that. That feels ideal to me. Let's say we get to that. What is to make people like Stars care? Because right now Stars would benefit. I can't even buy American Gods on iTunes or Amazon today.
You can buy American Gods right now for $8.99 a month, which is cheaper than it would be if you bought a pass. And you can watch it earlier in the day than it even airs on Stars, and you can add it to Amazon. What are you complaining about Stars for?
You're totally right. But I can only do that independent of all of the other shite I'm paying for. So
you could do it on Amazon. It would be right in with the Amazon shite you're paying for.
Right. But then I'm not going to get
let me guess. Here's what I think is bugging you.
Yeah.
Is that the marketplace has not matured.
Yeah.
And so it's not easy to look at it and go, all right, these are the main services. These are the differences between them, and I can pick one. Right now some of these things are like cable, and some of these things are like Amazon, but they don't have all the channels. And then there's Netflix, which is off on its own. And so it's confusing, and it starts to make your head hurt if you're trying to wrap your head around all of it. But it's not going to be like that forever, because the momentum of the marketplace is more of these services coming in, more of them competing, and we'll start to see which of these models are the ones that are working, and we'll start to see the services change to capture more audience, and in a few years, it will collapse into something that'll make more sense, I think.
I think that you're probably right. I'm a little impatient about it. I will say this, though. You made the comment today on TMS that of all the services you sampled, and you did mess with Hulu today, to kind of see what was up with that, you felt like PlayStation Vue was still, again, depending on people's channel preferences, was still maybe the best package that's available right now. Thing I didn't ask you this morning is, do you think any of these others is more poised than another to do that for people? Do you think
if I had to run through it, YouTube's big advantage is the solidity of the service. And that could prove to be a big advantage. Hulu's advantage is that they actually have the biggest back catalog and the easiest way of finding shows. So if they could just add some more channels to their live lineup, they might get the upper hand. PlayStation Vue is probably limited by its DVR 28 days, so they might need to change that, because that's where YouTube's unlimited DVR or Hulu's 50 to 200 hours comes in. Sling TV just needs to play catch up. Their advantage right now is control. You can keep your bill lower with Sling because you can drop packages and go to a cheaper base package than any of the others. DirecTV Now is the farthest behind. I guess their big advantage is they have the Viacom channels, like you said.
Yeah, it's interesting, but you know what? You got more chances than ever. This Hulu thing's got a little bit of convoluted stuff going on in terms of like price structure and what you get for what's a little confusing. But why not? Why not Hulu? Why aren't you in this mix? Yeah, you are. So.
Well, we're just getting started. Verizon's still got one to come. DirecTV Now is promising to add features. Sling is adding features. Everybody's changing features. This is far from done. So keep an eye on it. If you experiment and you try one, let us know what you think.
Feedback at Daily Tech News Show. Of all the players, is it just Apple's the only real holdout that doesn't have deals with all the people that are outside of their download service that they currently have on iTunes and have for years? Are they the only holdout that you can think of that?
What are you talking about?
Well, they don't have.
Samsung doesn't have any. Microsoft doesn't have any.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just falling for the rumor mongers who told you for years Apple was going to get.
Well, no, that's part of it. But part of it is I was trying to think of other companies that are in a position to do it.
Verizon is in a position to do it. I guess Comcast would be the one where they have this, but it's only for existing Comcast internet subscribers.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think that Samsung's missing the boat. They get those fridges with TVs on them. So let's get going, guys.
Yeah, maybe they should. I mean, Milk worked so well for them as a music service. Why not? Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. A couple messages to get to. James said, I'm sure someone else has pointed this out, or maybe not, as it was in the post show, but Microsoft does have an education version of Windows 10. Now, in the post show, we were talking about why didn't they name it Windows 10E or something like that instead of Windows 10S. James said the Windows version for education was called Windows 10 Education Edition. It's what I was running on my work laptop before I retired. As best I can tell, it has the same feature set as Windows 10 Enterprise Edition, but is for education volume licensing customers instead of corporate volume licensing customers. Yeah, I think so. I think that they could call it Windows 10 EE, Enterprise or Education. Well, that might make it sound like Enterprise. Maybe that's why they don't want to call it E. All right.
Maybe.
Thanks, James.
I like the idea that maybe they're living with the simplification and we don't need 20 versions of Windows anymore. I used to hate that.
Victor is very excited about Samsung's DeX. We talked about that yesterday. It's the dock that lets you use a Galaxy S8 as a desktop PC. But he writes, and Scott, I'm very curious what you think of his email here. He says, there's one feature that is key to the overall usefulness of the platform in this particular dock, the ability to remote desktop into firewalled networks using enterprise tools like Citrix and Juniper network clients that would allow me to use my phone, a keyboard, mouse, and my hotel TV as an access point into my corporate network and allow me to remote into the computer at my desk and utilize desktop tools. As it is, I expect, remote into a PC running Linux or Windows on an open network, say my Wi-Fi network at home, and spawn processes which would make DeX a fun tool and all, but until I can use it for business purposes, I don't see it as any more than a cool toy that I intend to buy, to be sure.
Well, I'm kind of with him. It is a cool toy. But I don't know. Every use case is going to be different. You're going to have, very difficult to get into or penetrate security in certain systems. And how are you going to do that remotely? That isn't just some basic VPN service without getting real specific about how this thing's built. So I love the idea. Like I use remote access all the time. I actually use Google's remote desktop through Chrome.
Well, the Galaxy S8 has corporate clients. So it doesn't feel like it would be that big of a jump for them to work with some of these apps to make DeX compatible version of those corporate clients.
Yeah. And it's a cool idea. You're on a plane to, Idaho and you need to log in real quick and double check something. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Well, thank you, Scott Johnson. As always, let folks know where else they can find what you got going on.
Well, if they're interested in more from me, they can certainly go over to frogpants.com. That's like frog wearing pants. So frogpants.com, in case you're new to that. It's got links to all the shows that I do, everything we host, friends of the program, including DTNS. And if you're interested in any of that, it's all right there. And then I might recommend, if you like streaming content where I record most of the shows live, as well as do a lot of gaming content and elsewise, you can go over to frogpants.tv. That'll take you straight to the Twitch channel. You can like, subscribe, and all that stuff as well. Every day something's happening there, so give that a shot. There's a schedule and everything. And for everything else, Scott Johnson on Twitter. Always like hearing from DTNS listeners.
Thanks to everybody who gives a little value back for the value they get from the show, including Mike Lamb, Jerry Geyser, Matt Hodges, and more. If you are supporting us, thank you. If you're not supporting us yet and you get value for the show, could you give us $1 a month? Patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And we're at facebook.com/dailytechnewsshow. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. See you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
In our analyst supporter Slack, Eisting says he saw a PlayStation View commercial the other day in an NBA game where they acknowledged in the commercial that you don't need a PlayStation to get the service.
Oh.
So they're finally doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about freaking time. That's good.
GPEG was asking, he's like, why can't Netflix be like DirecTV now? Because why can't HBO be like DirecTV now? I see Netflix as a competitor to HBO and Stars, not a competitor to YouTube and
the analog for the analog for Netflix has always been HBO. I felt, or well, not always, but since they started doing quality original,
but they're basically a channel, not a yeah.
They have.
I mean, they could. I'm not saying they couldn't, but that's not where they're taking their business right.
I mean, in many ways, you don't hear this said a lot. Maybe you do. I don't. But in many ways, Netflix kind of like came in and out HBO'd out HBO in a lot of ways, because they've got way more archival content that's not their own. It's all licensed content, just like HBO does, but way more of it. And their original programming is certainly getting to a place where you could say it's, on par with what everything HBO is doing outside of maybe Game of Thrones or some of their bigger stuff. But, I think volume wise, they are a bigger HBO than HBO is. But Stars, they want to so bad, and I'm not sure they've earned it, but we'll see.
Well, Stars and Showtime are making their big plays with American Gods and Twin Peaks.
Is Stars owned by Showtime?
Nope.
Networks? Okay.
No. It used to be, I forgot what they were from Satellite? No. I remember seeing them a long time when they first started. Titles. Over not, so be way no.
Stars is owned by Lionsgate.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So it's Canadian. Uber not, so be wait. Am I reading that right?
I don't know. If you can't, put it this way, Roger, you have sensorial rights. If it doesn't make any sense to you, you can skip it.
Well, jelly of someone else's phone. Go trusting Google.
Bueno. I'm just got it. Not so bueno. Get it?
Not so bueno.
Oh, wait. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Trusting Google for the most part in parentheses. A new hula hoop. WeChat,
Like a hoop to jump through, I guess.
Yes. WeChat is for all the things. The auto guy knows Waymo, then he leads. I think we've done the Waymo before.
I'm sorry. I had to vote for Waymo, Way Larry, and Way Curly. I had to. I know it's not going to make it, but I had to vote.
Well, it's up to you.
I'm not choosing. Don't make me do it.
The more I think about it, keep thinking, keep voting on the titles. The more I think about it, I think your opposition, Scott, is probably an opposition a lot of people have, which is, no, I thought this was going to make things easier, not more complicated.
That's probably all it is. And I'm smart enough to navigate it. It's just that
it takes a lot of energy.
It's hard to compare.
Yeah.
These things don't compare very nicely to each other.
No. And to do it, you got to, sign up for a bunch of things you maybe didn't want to. And
you got to try looking at charts.
Your emails out in the wild. I don't know. It's
Make
weird.
Graphs.
I don't know. Your recommendation of View was a good one. I mean, Tom is obviously providing a professional service on this show, so people, when they hear recommendations like that, that's good. Like we're doing a subservice here by giving people recommendations that aren't biased or paid for or anything like that. And I really do like PlayStation View, so it's not that I wouldn't like these other services. I probably might, but I'm more comfortable just sticking with this for now. Plus, they're using my PayPal, which I kind of like.
I'm going to go with a new Hulu hoop for the title.
New Hulu hoop.
I'm good with that.
I like No More Tears because it plays on the old Ozzy song, but it's also an obscure
yeah.
Ozzy song, so probably not. But
No More Tears. I get it.
get it?
Yeah.
Except they have a different kind of tier.
Could WeChat? I know this sounds like talk from 2006, but I just want to throw this out.
Could it access your Friendster list? Yes.
No. Could they? I think they could have done this in 2008 because this was the hot thing to try to do, like Firefox phones and all that. They could be their own. If they're doing all those things for people, they could be the OS on a really inexpensive phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is kind of where everybody thought Facebook was going to go, right? For the longest time. I think WeChat is happy to not mess with that and just be like, you know what? We kind of are as it is. So why would we bother screwing with a good thing?
I think you're right, but it's an itch. I feel like if you'd asked them that back 10 years ago, they may have had a different answer.
Well, because there's a lot of overhead and trouble that comes with being the operating system, and WeChat avoids all that.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the Firefox phones? That all died, right?
Yeah, they
pulled them.
phased them out.
The problem is maintaining an OS and keeping up with the updates and stuff is a very time, energy, expensive task.
Yeah.
And if you're not geared for that, or you're like Amazon, you're doing a bajillion of other things, you kind of want to figure out, is it worth doing? And if you're doing it, why are you doing it?
No. Yeah.
I mean, if you just want something because you want to play to your company's ego and have an Amazon branded, OS or, Wemo branded phone.
Right. Usually it's because you want to control the relationship, right? So the one thing WeChat can't do is entirely control the relationship, because whoever has the underlying OS can do things that change their business materially, and affect how they access their customers. So it's a control thing, I think. But
right.
it's a lot of work.
And it's interesting because Amazon's was going at it in kind of the reverse of what Apple did, which was Apple created the hardware, then they tacked on the service that would feed the hardware, and eventually they grew the rest of their online offerings that way. Amazon already has all that online stuff. Now they're just trying to squeeze it back into a hardware.
Yeah.
But they do have Fire set-top boxes and stuff. So
yeah. And the tablets. They tried to do phones, it just didn't work.
Phones are very fickle. People are very fickle with their phones.
Phone fickleness. The eye fickle.
The eye fickle. Well, now the rumor is that crazy anniversary edition iPhone isn't going to come out until next year, which is hilarious because Apple never said it would come out this year. So
I could see them getting another year of traction out of the 7. It's fine.
It wouldn't be the 10th anniversary edition anymore, though.
I want that.
It'd be the 11th anniversary.
I want that red, Project Red color to be a standard color. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. If I was getting a phone, it bugs me that it's not, a launch thing, because I've got a 2-year thing for this thing, or whatever it is. Like, I guess I could go in and replace it if they don't do a new one this year with the yearly thing, but it seems weird to have it on like off years because you've either already got your phone or I don't know. That's weird to me. That thing's too cool to not have as a mainline thing. They should have totally.
Well, I think why they do it is to boost sales. So you've got your iPhone sales at the beginning, and then as the iPhone's been out for a while, sales start to decline naturally because people who bought it don't need to buy it again. Then you do the red, which that brings up some interest. People that maybe weren't ready to buy back here, now it's suddenly something new that they can buy. So I think that's why they do it.
It's a very Nintendo approach. Our DS is flagging. We got to make a new version.
I don't think
3DS
Nintendo
is
invented
flagging.
that, though, did they?
No, but they're the most high-profile company I know that does it.
They do. I'll tell you what.
And drug companies are the other ones.
That Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch is real good. Real good.
Remember when they came out the micro Game Boy?
Yeah.
Man, I knew a bunch of people bought it. It's like, dude, I can barely see like anything on the screen.
That's what's so cool. You can barely see anything on the screen.
My eyes have gotten so much worse since then. I couldn't do it today.
Doubles as my belt buckle.
That thing was awesome, though. I have one somewhere. I don't know where I put
You know
it.
what? I still have a Game Boy Advance somewhere, and that thing is one of the best because it's the one that's the SP that's backlit, so you can actually see the screen.
Some argue that's the best handheld they ever made.
It is. It has the tremendous battery. I played it off and on for like 3.5 hours on the flight to Japan, and it was great. It worked. You could control the volume. You know, the brightness wasn't even, but you could see it, and it wasn't like clumsy.
Yep.
Like these things were very, very well thought out.
The SP is awesome. I have the NES classic version of that, so it looks like a little NES with the colors.
Man, they love doing that, just playing back on the old NES. But they never do anything with like a Rob tribute. Remember the little robot?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
that little disc game.
Yep. Absolutely. But yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch. If you like Mario Kart at all, it's awesome. Best thing they've made.
I really need to get that.
It's really good, Tom.
I do like a Mario Kart.
You and Eileen could have some good couch fun. Sounds weird when I say it.
I know what he meant. Stop laughing.
I know.
Not laughing, I'm snickering.
Yeah.
Stop snickering.
Silence your guffawing.
I haven't even been playing Zelda lately. I got fallen out. We adopted this dog. She takes up all my spare time.
Yeah, dogs will do that.
She's your new Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Kennel.
Yeah,
bad
literally from the wild.
Horrible Breath of the Wild. Yep.
Yeah, dog Breath of the Wild.
It was
She's
a comic.
doing great though. It's worth it.
I make comic strips. I should make one.
Dog Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Snore.
Can't let oatmeal have all the fun today.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure, you can inspire people with moving descriptions of the human condition, but you could also make puns.
You sure can. Oh man, I can do it like nobody's business. I'm not quite as good as you at it, but
Well, good is a questionable term.
I can make it's a trap joke like the best of them.
I love those.
Oh, good, because I got a new one coming up soon.
Mark Hamill made one on the Force for Change video. Did you watch that today?
No, I missed that.
They did one of those. That's become the new thing, is to have, tell people they're just recording something and then have the star they're recording it about show up.
Oh.
So the video is people doing lines from Star Wars movies that involve Luke Skywalker and then have Mark Hamill walk in while they're not looking. And
I can see that, I guess.
Yeah.
That's good. Good for him. He's the
Good
last.
for him.
Good for Mark Hamill or good for the guy?
Good for the
Good for
judges.
all of them.
Everyone.
Drinks for all my.
Well, it's not like he really ever faded away. He just was doing other stuff, other showbiz stuff.
Yeah, no, it was Yoda that faded away.
Well, he faded away in the sense that he was no Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
Right.
he was no president of the United States fighting off terrorists on Air Force One.
No, his career became I do the voice of the Joker on the '90s Batman series. Like,
And I show up on occasion to do weird cameos or well, he did a lot. He was the trickster.
yeah, on Flash, right?
With Flash on the original Flash TV show.
Yeah, and he's on the new one doing something.
Yeah, he's on the new one too.
Yeah, he plays the trickster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was really Charlton Comics version of the Joker, just a crappier.
Oh,
You can always tell that a comic book company bought another comic book company when there are a bunch of similar characters. You scratch your head, why are they there?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
All right, folks. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed giving it to you, and we will be back tomorrow. With
Tom
just
gonna give it to you.
Give it.
Uptown Funk.